So it makes it an extra long competition for them.
Longer sprint.
A longer sprint and half a lap can make a huge difference to the type of rider that this race is suited to.
Tracy Brown from Trinidad and Tobago. And rolling up now is Ivan Gladyshev from the... No, that's not Ivan Gladyshev, that's Ryan Halal. Gladyshev is a little further down the start. There's Ryan Halal. Just an explanation, the Derny, well, for want of another expression, you could use it as an e-bike, really. It's an electronically powered bike that will come around at the bottom of the track, and the gun will go off with that Derny, as it's called, the e-bike, about 15 meters behind the riders, and the riders will roll off behind there. Jason Kenny, the defending champion, and Sam Webster. Well, we've got a real quality field here. Max Levy, a silver medalist in the Keirin in London, 2009 world champion. Jason Kenny, the 2013 world champion.
Well, here comes the Derny bike. They may end up changing the name to an electric bike. Because the Derny bike used to be petrol powered, now it's electron. There's the gun. The first Keirin race for the men that we see in this competition, and Sam Webster takes straight to the wheel of the Derny with Jason Kenny in second place. And this is going to be a very exciting men's Keirin competition.
Yeah, there's so much experience in this race. Sam Webster, Jason Kenny, Ivan Gladyshev. He's the youngest in this field at 19. European champion in the team sprint. He's the Russian Olympic Committee, so a bit of an unknown quantity. Then Max Levy at 34. Well, he's seen it and done it all before. Multiple medalist at the World Championships.
And a big shout out to the rider on the back from Trinidad and Tobago, Brown. He caught COVID in January and spent 38 days in hospital. So January 2020 that was, but he's had a remarkable recovery.
Wonderful to have him. He's been working with the World Cycling Centre, UCI's World Cycling Centre in Switzerland under Craig McLean. We've got a few charges here, including Nicholas Paul and John and Farr. They're winding up now. The Derny will drop off, and Webster on the front with Kenny behind. A move from Brown at the back. He goes into third wheel now. Kenny will try and get past Sam Webster. Brown is staying on Kenny's wheel.
Yeah, perfect move from Jason Kenny to take to the front. Sam Webster really struggling now to get onto that third wheel of Brown, but Jason Kenny in control at the moment. So many things can happen in the last lap or half a lap of the men's Keirin, and Max Levy comes to the front now.
Remember, the first two go through to the qualifiers, others to the repechage round. So Levy and Hilal on the outside. Max Levy of Germany, Kenny's tucked in on the inside, and they're going to bring it to the line. It's Hilal and Levy.
Halal and Levy go directly through, and what an upset with Jason Kenny going back to repechages. We've seen that throughout the sprint competition from the men. Not on his absolute best form here in Tokyo.
Well, he's Jason Kenny. There's Max Levy, the winner, but Kenny has been quoted after the sprint. He finished in third place, where he talked about he's not as competitive as he was. He was quite relaxed about it. He just knows he's not quite as competitive, and he's doing the best he possibly can. And if that's not going to bring him a medal here, well, there's not much else he can do. But these two looking very, very good. Levy and 22-year-old Ryan Halal.
Yeah, great to see the French with a young team here getting ready for their home Olympics in Paris. What a ride from Halal. He'll take a lot of confidence from that one.
So he and Max Levy go direct through to the quarterfinals, repechage rounds for the remaining riders. There's Max Levy. He's a real veteran of the track circuit, but still very competitive. There's no need to exclude him from any potential medalist later on in the Keirin, which can be very unpredictable. Riders who perform really well in the sprint, which is a very different discipline, might necessarily not be great. They might have the power and the speed, but they're perhaps not quite as strong or tactically astute as you need to be in the Keirin. The start list for our Heat 2 in the first round of the Keirin: Matthew Richardson from Australia, then Hugo Barrett from Canada, Jack Carlin from Great Britain, already a bronze medalist in the sprint, Sergei Ponomaryov from Kazakhstan, and Mohamed Sharom from Malaysia, and Matthias Buckley, silver in Rio in the Keirin. Matthias Buckley, and a 2019 world champion, so plenty of quality here.
Yeah, certainly some big names in this heat. Last minute words for Carlin on the start line. He's always the last to zip up on the start line as well. Now we see Matthew Richardson from Australia.
Jack Carlin, Matthew Richardson, Hugo Barrett, Sergio Ponomaryov, Sarom and Buckley. Here comes the Derny round the bend. And when the gun goes, the riders can roll off behind. Heat 2 in the men's Keirin is underway. 6 riders, only 2 can go through to the quarterfinals direct. The other 4 will contest repechage rounds to try and progress further in the competition. And going to the front is Hugo Barrett, 13th in Rio. His best world championship result was back in 2018 when he was 10th. Behind him is Jack Carlin, the bronze medalist in the sprint.
Yeah, we can see the riders like Carlin and the Australian Matthew Richardson in good position. They just need to keep an eye on the riders behind them once the Derny swings off. They're very aware of the riders in front of them, but also behind them.
Derny, yes, it's a very, very particular skill, and pacing it correctly to get to the required speed when you pull off to release the riders. You're winding it up now, and you can see that speed ever increasing, 47, 50 kilometers an hour, there and thereabouts, when he'll pull off as he comes around to the start-finish area for the final time. The Derny will pull off and they'll be racing.
So we have the onboard camera on Carlin, so we've got a good look of Matthew Richardson. They're all looking around.
A move by Buckley at the back, the former world champion.
Well, Barrett trying to ride from the front. Carlin on the wheel. Here comes Buckley. He's trying to push the Australian out of the way, but can't successfully get through on the sprint line. There goes the Australian now to move into second wheel.
Richardson. Here's the bell. Oh, crash! And 2 of them go down heavily.
And it's Barrett, Hugo Barrett. The race has been stopped.
Well, it's Ponomaryov and Sarom go down.
Well,
there's the race has been stopped.
They raced to the finish line just to be safe in case it's not going to be restarted. That was a heavy fall, and we're often going to see that in these high-paced Keirins. Once that motorbike, Derny, shall we say, electric bike comes off the track, it is all game on and very chaotic. So at the moment, both riders are up.
Well, the Malaysian team staff a little bit concerned, but the good news is that Mohamed Sarom is up and walking, as is Sergei Ponomaryov from Kazakhstan.
Yeah, they came down extremely hard, so the bikes will need to be checked. The riders will need to. We see the replay here. So it's Sarom just catching the elbow of Carlin, losing control of his bike.
And Ponomaryov had very little place to go except straight into Sarom.
Well, it's interesting watching in slow motion, but it happens so fast. So nothing wrong by Carlin there, just a little bit of balance issues for Sarom. And you can see immediately the slide down the track, how many splinters they'll have. But they'll ignore that for now.
That's a good sign. Thumbs up from Mohamed Sarom from Malaysia. The Asian Championship silver medalist from a couple of years ago. He's got a great sprint program going there. John Beasley looks after it in Melbourne in Australia. Jack Carlin, well, he'll have to come back and do it again. Fancy.
Yeah, so there'll be a little bit of a wait now while the commissaires check the track. They really do need to analyse the track and make sure there is no wood standing up. So close assessment along the track there from the commissaires before they let any more riders out onto the track. Carlin, he doesn't seem too phased. So here we see it again. Cullen did actually move up the track into Sarong. From that angle, we saw a little bit of a different... Wow. Yes, Cullen definitely moved up the track there on Sarong. So we'll wait for the commissaire's decision on the restart of that event.
Well, whilst we're watching this, it is of some importance to let you know that the president of the Commissaires panel, Maureen Landis-Tyson, is in conversation with the starter, Christian Majera, and with the judge referee up above the track, and with one of the Great Britain coaching staff. So we will hear, I'm sure, a little later the decision on that. But we're going to move to heat number 3 whilst they deliberate. Here's Maureen Landis-Taylor. And the Canadian coach, obviously Hugo Barrett, was in this race as well. Mohamed Soron, Jack Carlin was involved in that crash. Panomariov was, well, I'm afraid, just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, no results from Heat 2 just yet, so we'll update you as soon as we receive the results and the decision. No doubt there'll probably be a restart of that event, but for now it's Heat 3 of the men's first round in the Keirin.
So we go to heat number 3. Drama and excitement here in the Keirin. It is really one of the most riveting events imaginable. Fantastic to watch as we see heat number 3's field preparing. Sebastien Vigier from France, 7th in the sprint. Jean Spiess from South Africa, 27th in the sprint. Best World Championship performance of 19th in 2019. Then we've got Stefan Bottiger, who was a silver medalist at the World Championships, bronze in 2013. Mohamed Awang, bronze in Rio, bronze at the World Championships last year. He was a world champion in 2017, so serious pedigree there. Patrick Roszkowski from Poland.
And you can just see all of the bikes here. They go under fine scrutiny before they come up onto the track. Those bikes have to be weighed. They also have to be tested that the handlebars are not lower than the tyre, front tyre. So no handlebars will be lower than the front tyre. You need to be able to slide a piece of paper or board between them. And they'll be x-rayed as well for technical fraud, or as we know it, mechanical doping. So a lot of checking from the UCI on the bikes just before the start. Then the bikes go into a pen, while the riders can continue to ride on the rollers on a different bike. But a lot of testing as we see now. Awang, one of the most exciting riders to watch. He's from Malaysia, proud of it. John Beasley's coach there. Coach, manager, mechanic, mentor, everything for those Malaysian riders.
We've got Spiess, we've got Awang, we've got Vigier, we've got Rajkowski and Bottiger, and the world sprint record holder Nicholas Paul at the top of the track as the journey comes round the top.
Just before we start, just an update that Heat 2 will be rerun from those riders that have crashed to get their bikes checked again. And here we go for Heat number 3 of the men's Keirin. It looks like no one's too excited about getting onto the Derny, but it is Jean Spiess.
Yes, I don't think he really wanted to get up there, but South Africa's Jean Spiess gets the first wheel. Second behind him is Awang, the most decorated of the riders in this year's Keirin field at the Olympic Games in terms of World Championships. He's a world champion, also a couple of silvers and a couple of bronze. And then behind him is Vigier. And then Rajkowski, German Bottiger. And right at the back is Nicholas Paul. He's got raw speed, but has he got the tactical nous and ability to get through a field like this?
Well, I think he'll be very, very determined in the Keirin after being relegated in one of the rounds of the sprint and then beaten in the decider. He's one of the fastest men on 2 wheels. This is the man from Trinidad and Tobago riding on the back. To ride on the back, you need to have power and speed, but you need to have the confidence, because you'll see a wall of riders in front of you. Sometimes you have to go 5 wide, but he makes his move now, just before the Derny comes off the track at 50 kilometres per hour. Here comes Nicholas Paul.
Way they go, dirty off the track there. John Spieth still on the front. The big man from South Africa coming round the top of him is Vigier. There is the Frenchman, and Awang is on his wheel. It's a long sprint, as we explained earlier, much longer than it used to be. The second lap now, or second last lap. Bodiger on the outside, the German. He's power on the back. Outside is Stefan Bodiger. And the bell.
Still got 1 lap to go. This has been an extremely long sprint, but it's Awang. Look at Awang's flying. He's got the endurance for the longer sprints. Bodiger on the inside. They only need to finish first or second.
It's second through, and it looks like Nicholas Paul and Mohamed Awang will go through.
Oh, Mohamed Awang, he's an exciting rider to watch from Malaysia. And Nicholas Paul from Trinidad and Tobago. He's the man with the pure speed and power. He'll be also very, very excited about going straight through to the next round of the Keirin. So Mohamed Awang from Malaysia, he was the man. He's got speed, but he's one rider that has speed and he has really good tactics. So Nicholas Paul just coming through for second place there. And Awang, he's famous for his little wheel stand that he does at the finish. His wheel pops off the ground, and you'll see that throughout the rounds. When he throws for the line, he's the only rider that does it and consistently does it. Every time he throws for the line, the wheel comes off the ground. Willie Awang.
Awang, Paul, Rajkowski, Bodiger, Spieth and Vigier, with just Paul and Awang going through to the quarterfinals. The remainder will contest the repechage rounds. That Gleitzer. It's good to see him on the start line, the Australian.
He's been pretty quiet at the Tokyo Olympics until now.
It's a sprint gold medalist, sprint world champion, Harry Labraison. A glorious day yesterday on day 5 of the Olympic track program for the Dutchess. Labraison took gold and his teammate Jeffrey Hoogland the silver medal. Gleitzer, Zhu Qiao, Nita Udai, Harry Labraison, Matthias Riddick and Denis Dimitriev. The home crowd are loving it here. This is a sport they are passionate about. That Gleitzer, 4th at the World Championships last year. Oceania champion a couple of times as well. 4th in the team sprint. Harry Labraison, already 2 gold medals for him in the team sprint and the sprint. Zhu Qiao from Shanghai. Jess Rudiker, regular sprint winner. He hasn't won a Keirin in the World Cup circuit. And below him, from the Russian Olympic Committee, Denis Dimitriev. 4th in the sprint.
Yeah, we saw some great tactical riding from Dimitriev to get that far in the sprint. Now we see the focus on the faces of the riders. The gun goes and the riders are away. And it will be Japanese rider that takes the wheel. Nita Judai will take the wheel of the Derny. Behind him is Dimitriev.
Japan, yeah, they've got obviously great pedigree in this. They've had the silver medals in the World Championships the last 3 years. Every year a different rider, and this one is Nita Udai, who was a silver medalist in 2019.
Well, you can see Matthew Gleitzer riding on the front. He's relying on a big move from the Dutchman Labraison to follow him around the other riders. And the most aerodynamic sprinters we've seen in many, many years, Matthew Gleitzer. We've got a good shot of him there from the on-bike camera of Labraison. So Labraison keeping a good eye on Matthew Gleitzer.
And here is Gleitzer and Labraison eyeing each other out at the back as the Derny winds it up. He'll pull off now on this lap as they come past the finish line. Nita Udai looking over his shoulder. And they're racing now.
You can see Dimitriev leaving a little bit of space, but he's been jumped. He's been jumped by Zhu Qiao of China. And Dimitriev now in second place. The riders at the back got a lot to do with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, 2 laps though, so it's a long way to go. Labraison and Gleitzer at the back with a lot of work to do, but they're moving up now, but still on the front is the Russian Olympic Committee rider. Dmitriev is still going strong. Juchao, now comes the Japanese rider, Nita Udai. He's got Matthew Glaitzer on his wheel. Dmitriev, Udai, top two through, and Udai will join Dmitriev in the next round.
Oh, what a fantastic ride, and the crowd are on their feet here. Udai of Japan, he goes through with a very convincing victory. Miyawaki there, a former famous cyclist in the crowds, cheering on her, one of her riders from the Japanese Keirin school.
It's wonderful. Here's the Keirin school right next door to the Izu Velodrome here. And wonderful to see Nita Udai take the win just ahead of Denis Dmitriev. Here's the finish. Udai finished really strongly as it comes around the bend. Glaitzer had too much work to do.
Yeah, I sense what was happening in that race earlier on. Glaitzer was waiting for the Dutchman Levraessen to make a move, and he didn't. He was waiting for Matthew Glaitzer to go through to jump on his wheel, so they both left it way too late. And this is the advantage of riding closer to the front in the Keirin. You can never predict what's going on behind you. So a very tactical race in the Keirin.
Yeah, watching each other, and Nita Udai and Denis Dmitriev take advantage of Glaitzer and Levraessen's distraction and take their path into the quarterfinals direct. Fascinating. So we come to the last heat 5, but remember we will have a re-ride of heat 2. But this is heat 5. One is from Canada. Kevin Quintero, Pan American champion in 2019. That's Callum Saunders from New Zealand. From Suriname, Jael Choninfa. Wonderful to have him, and he's been a sensation on the sprints. And the second of the Japanese riders, Wakimoto Yuta, silver medalist at the World Championships last year. And this is Kevin Quintero. And then right at the bottom, this is Thomas Babek from the Czech Republic, riding in the memory of his brother who died in an accident earlier this year, tragically.
Well, they wait nervously for the Derny bike to come through. The Derny will start at 30 kilometres per hour and within 3 laps build up to 50 kilometres per hour. So the Derny will drop the riders off with 3 laps to go at 50 kilometres per hour, and then it's up to the riders reaching 70 kilometres per hour on this fast velodrome in Izu.
It's the Czech rider Thomas Babek who goes to the front right away. Behind him is the 21-year-old Canadian Nick Wames, 2 World Cups, including winning in Hong Kong and Cambridge quite recently.
New Zealand's Callum Saunders taking this one from the back. You can imagine when the Derny swings off, he'll try to take a flyer and improve a few positions. But the Japanese crowd here are sitting on the edges of their seat with excitement.
Well, they'd love to have 2 riders direct through to the quarterfinals, and the Wakimoto Yuta is bidding to join Nita Udai in the quarterfinals. Well, it's got work to do still. Wind it up now, 4 laps to go.
And the reason they leave distance between themselves and the rider in front is if someone jumps from the back, they need to be able to accelerate, and they can't do that when they're hard on the wheel. Here comes the rider from Suriname around the outside, and he's coming quick. He wants to improve his position very early in the race. 2 laps to go.
Bobbing around is Babek, but John Infar goes to the front. Quintero on his right. He and Babek are battling for the line. Eventually Quintero manages to get in front. Rondell.
1 lap to go. Quintero goes to the front. Can he get around?
Going to be so tight this race. Real bunch here. Quintero, John Infar. It's going to be close. Wakimoto's here as well. And he does take the win.
Wakimoto, what speed, what motivation he had from seeing the heat before him. Japan are so proud of their riders here at the men's Keirin.
A big cheer for Wakimoto Yuta, the 32-year-old.
And it's the New Zealander that goes through in second place. What a very tight finish from these riders. We've seen the replay here. Wakimoto just coming around with the New Zealander on the wheel, which was a good place to be with the speed of Wakimoto coming into the finish. Another win for Japan and straight through to the quarterfinals of the Keirin.
Callum Saunders joins Wakimoto Yuta in the next round. Excellent ride by the 25-year-old from Blenheim, and he will have a marginally easier route to potential medal rounds in the men's Keirin. And the race winner there. Ponomarev and Sarom are not in the race any longer. In the re-race. Heavy fall.
Very, very heavy fall there for Kazakhstan. Well, it's a big part of Keirin racing, crashing. Unfortunately, it's such fast, high-paced, close racing. In the Japanese Keirins, they call it a full contact sport. But here in UCI racing, at this level, certainly a lot of different and strict rules. And you can see there the two riders that are not starting the restart of Heat 2.
And Buckley's got a warning, a yellow card, so to speak. So, Hugo Barrett, there's Matthias Buckley, silver in Rio 2019 world champion. The re-ride of Heat 2 in the men's Keirin without Sarom and Ponomarev, and a yellow card warning for Buckley. Just four riders in this field. Hugo Barrett, Jack Carlin, as well as Matthew Richardson and Matthias Buckley.
Two riders go through to the quarterfinals, and the other two riders to the repechage. So Buckley riding from the back from the Netherlands. In front of him, the Australian Matthew Richardson. Then there's Carlin and the rider from Canada, Hugo Barrett. He's on the wheel. So the camera on the bike of Jack Carlin. We've got a good view of Matthew Richardson. Makes the heat a little bit easier to control with only four riders, but in some ways it's also more difficult if you really like the movement of the group of riders.
Yeah, there's two going through at the fall, so odds are a little better here. Now the Durney's winding it up as he pulls out, and we go Barrett, then Carlin, then it's Richardson and Buckley. Carlin looking over his shoulder all the time. He knows the danger's coming from Matthias Buckley now, who moves into position.
Yeah, with 2 laps to go, Buckley takes to the lead. Carlin on the wheel.
Ooh, big crash. Very big crash.
Hugo Barrett has fallen, so there's still a lap to go.
The race has been stopped.
The riders aren't stopping, they're still racing. So
in fact, it hasn't been stopped. The bell has gone, beg your pardon.
Buckley and Carlin will go through. Oh, close from the Australian, but the two riders from Great Britain, that will be Jack Carlin and Buckley from the Netherlands, will go through. Disappointment for the Australian, Matthew Richardson. Unfortunate for Hugo Barrett from Canada.
Very heavy fall on the bend up at the top, and so drama in this round all the way through. There it is.
Yeah, so very lucky the Australian missed that, but just a lapse of concentration from the Canadian. He had underlapped the wheel. Oh, so close for Matthew Richardson. So the race goes on, and Buckley from the front. Whoa!
Meanwhile, Buckley and Carlin were battling it out, and Carlin would eventually prevail in what ended up being just 3 riders finishing and 2 going through, Carlin and Buckley. So confirming a incident-laden result from Heat 2. Carlin and Buckley go through. Richardson will go to the repechage round. Hugo Barrett, a heavy faller, and earlier Panomariov and Sarom both crashed out in the first heat. Well, that was a very nasty fall. The good news is that Hugo Barrett is sitting up on the apron there. The medical team are onto the scene very quickly, and he does stand up. So the quarterfinals, into the quarterfinals: Ryan Hillel, Jack Carlin, Max Levy, Ita Yurai, Wakimoto Yuta, 2 from Japan. Number 1 joins Matthias Buckley, Callum Sanders, Dennis Dimitriev, and Nicholas Paul in the next round. Well, that is a good sign.
Yeah, huge cheers from the crowd as Hugo Barrett leaves the track. It was a super heavy fall, but sometimes they do stay still just until they've got the all clear from the medical team to get up. But we must say the medical team here at the Velodrome have been absolutely outstanding with the speed that they get to the crushed riders and have them assessed.
Well, the Canadians are not happy.
Well, there has been a protest against Jack Carlin. So for now, the results stand as they are.